Hello! In today's video we're going to be working on a solo ukulele arrangement of March of the Toreadors. This is a really cool arrangement because it features three different techniques. We're going to be using finger picking, thumb picking, and strumming, and weave in between these different techniques to create a ton of depth with this particular arrangement. Now, if any of these techniques you're not familiar with, I have a link for each one of them down in the description below. Again, that's going to be finger picking, thumb picking, and strumming. So if there's any that you're not familiar with, check it out before diving in. But let's go ahead and get started with the very beginning of this song, which is going to use some finger picking. And it looks something like this, and sounds something like this. So this part's pretty straightforward. I would say it's the easiest part of the song. We're going to be using finger picking for both of these bars. We're going to take our thumb, place it on the C string with our playing hand, take our middle finger, place it on the A string, and notice how I've got these offset a little bit. That can help get a good tone. Then I'm going to take my middle finger on my fretting hand, place it here on the 5th fret of the C string, and even though it's not written, I like to add my ring finger here to the 5th fret of the E string. There's two reasons for this. The first one is just because if I accidentally hit the E string, it sounds much better to be fretted here than it does being open, and the second reason you'll find out in just a moment. But I'm going to pluck the C and A together, and then I'm going to take that middle finger off of the fretting hand and play open on the C and the A together. And I just do that over and over, 8 times to be exact. We're going to do the 5 0 5 0 5 0 5 0, so 4 on each, and that takes us through these first 2 bars. Nice and simple. Should sound something like this, and then I'm going to go into the next bar on bar 3 here. So now things are getting interesting when we get to measure 3. We're going away from the finger picking, we're going to use our thumb. And we're going to be strumming through this really cool F chord. So remember I said there's 2 reasons why I like that ring finger on the 5th fret of the E string. This is the second one, is it sets us up. When we have our 5 here and our 5 here, we just need to add the 3 here with the index finger onto the A string. A quick tip is tilt your fingernails towards your shoulder. If you're a right-handed player like me, it's your right shoulder. And what that does is it makes room for those fingers to get right up next to the fret wire and get a good tone over the full chord. Now we're going to be using our thumb. You can see on the tab there's this line written that's going to tell you use your thumb. It's also written as thumb. And then from here we're going to go to strumming, and with strumming we're going to use our index finger. And the first chord we're going to do is a down strum with the 5 added. So leave these fingers where they are and add the pinky finger here to the 5th fret of the A string. And I know it's a tight squeeze. There's a lot of those within this song, but we're going to do a down strum here. Now, quick note, you might notice the G string's not written. If you accidentally hit it, it's okay, but what you're trying to do is kind of position the strum so that you're more hitting the C, E, and the A strings. It's okay if you don't strum straight like this, but you strum kind of inward like this. That oftentimes can give you the little bit of extra oomph you need on those strings. And after I've strummed down on the 5 there, I'm going to come up on the 3, taking the pinky off. And then I'm going to take the index off for open on the A and do a down strum, and then another down strum. Going into the 4th measure here, we're going to move down to a normal everyday F. So that middle finger jumps up to the 2nd fret of the G string, index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string. I'm going to do a down strum here. Then when I come with the up strum, I'm going to add my ring finger here to the 3rd fret of the E string and come up. Now, you'll notice the A string's not written. If you kind of hit it, that's okay. It's kind of unrealistic to just hit those 3 strings every time. But now instead of angling your strum this way, you kind of angle it the other way. You kind of come up a little bit more to hit that E, and that can help give you that melody note of the 3 on the E string. So if you accidentally hit the A bit there, totally fine. After we've come up there, we're going to go back down on the open, and we're going to take that ring off. And then this, I think, is one of the hardest parts of the song. We're going to come up with 1 on the A string. So you see how the fingers are positioned here. What I need to do is I need to take this index finger and I need to collapse it to a bar. This is a very difficult thing if you've never done it before. But what I'm basically doing is taking this knuckle, which has this nice crease and bend right now, and I'm going to be bending it back to get a bar on the E and the A strings. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. One is you can take your hand off, kind of reapply it to the 1 there, and then get the 2 and try to get comfortable with that chord. And then gradually kind of go back and forth trying to go. I also find that it can help to kind of sweep into it a little bit. And what I mean by that is instead of just flattening the finger, I kind of move the finger back, flatten it, and then come back in. Sometimes that can help. It's kind of finding what works for you. This is a very tricky part, one of the hardest parts of the song. But we're going to be coming up with that bar there, and then we're going to be releasing the bar and getting the 1 again. If you're really struggling with this, it's okay to take the G string off and then just practice doing it like this. But I really recommend getting comfortable with that index finger going down and up, even though it's very challenging. And then the last 2 strums of this are going to be a down and up of that F chord. So measures 3 and 4, and then I'm going to jump right into 5 and 6, should sound something like this. Really, really slow. So now with these measures 5 and 6, what we're going to do is continue strumming to start. We're going to do this strum on a C7 chord, just the index finger here on the 1st fret of the A string. We're going to go down, and then a little bit of a new technique listed here. This is called a ghost note. What this is we're going to take our thumb and we're going to strum just the G string down. We're going to be careful to not hit any other string. So it's still a down strum. The hand is still moving downward, but the thumb is just catching the G. It can help to kind of go along this end of the ukulele and kind of catch here on the fretboard. For more help with ghost note strumming, I've got some links down below to check out. And then after that ghost note strum, I'm going to do an up on a C chord, so add the ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A, and then a down back to our normal F chord, 2, 0, 1, 0 with our middle and index. And then we're going to do a down on an A minor. So just take that index finger off, do another down strum. And then we're going to transition from strumming to thumb picking. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our thumb here and we're going to sweep through our G, C, and E strings, fretting a D minor chord. So this middle finger stays where it is. Ring finger kicks on to the 2nd fret of the C string, and the index finger here to the 1st fret of the E string. We're going to strum through with our thumb now, stopping on the A string. See how the thumb makes contact with that A and stops. And then I'm going to play the 2 on the C, and then the 3 on the E, just taking my pinky finger and adding it here. And then open on the C, just take everything off. Play that with the thumb. And then at the very end of this bar, we're going to do one more strum on a C chord, just that 3rd fret on the A. So take your index, and do a little strum for the filler. So this collection of 2 bars is pretty challenging because it's going from strumming to thumb picking back to strumming for a moment, right? And this is what makes this arrangement so cool. So let's go ahead and listen to measures 5 and 6, and then I'm going to jump right into 7 and 8 so that you can hear them. Here it is, really, really, really slow going through. Should be something like this. So measures 7 and 8 are quite challenging. We start here with 7. We're going to be playing this sort of a little bit of a G minor chord. 2nd fret on the C string with our middle finger. 3rd fret on the E string with our ring finger. Take your thumb now, going back to that. We're going to strum through our G, C, E. Stop on the A string there. Play just the 2 on the C with your thumb. And then we're going to go back into strumming here. So you'll notice I'm going to do a ghost note. So after my thumb has played the 2 on the C, I bring it up and now I do the ghost note. And that initiates the strum. You can see the down motion here that we're making. And then I'm going to come up. I'm going to stretch my pinky out to 5 on the A. This can be a bit of a stretch. Take some practice to get the middle ring and pinky fingers there. But I'm going to come up on this. And then down on 3 by sliding the pinky down to the 3rd fret on the A string. And then up on 1 by taking the pinky off and adding the index on 1 of the A. And then as I go into measure 8 here, I'm going to play a D minor chord. So these fingers have to sort of leap up. Index finger goes up 1 string to 1 on the E. The middle finger goes up 1 string to 2 on the G. And the ring finger goes up 1 string and over 1 to get on 2 of the C. And I'm going to do a downstroke here. Then I'm going to do an up with the pinky on 3 of the E. Much like earlier, the A string is not written, but if you hit it, that's okay. It's just the focal point is this 3 on the E. Then I'm going to do another down, taking that pinky off. And then I'm going to come up on the 1 on the A. So just like we did that earlier with the F chord, we now have to do that with the D minor. This is very challenging, but it's the same motion that you were working on before. That index finger needs to get comfortable collapsing to get a bar there on that first fret of the A string. Quite challenging, but it gives you that melody note. And then from there you go to another down, taking the index off of the bar and do a second down. I do think that this is the hardest part of the whole song, this measure 7 and 8 sequence, because of getting comfortable with going between strumming, thumb picking, and now these tight windows to fret. So measure 7 and 8 should sound something like this, super, super, super slow, and then I'll jump into 9 and 10. Should be something like this. So measures 9 and 10 comparatively a lot easier. We go back to our thumb picking. We're going to play this A minor. Just take your index, place it here on the 2nd fret of the G string. Well, actually, real quick note. That's how you build an A minor kind of in a vacuum, but we were just at this D minor, right? So an easier way to do that would just be take off the index and take off the ring, leave the middle finger there on the 2nd fret of the G string. Kind of neat. So we're going to pluck our C, E, and A with our thumb, and then our G, C, and E, and then our G, C, E, and A with the thumb. So it kind of sweeps through stopping on the A string, and then it sweeps through all 4. Then we're going to switch the chord by taking this middle finger and placing it here on the 2nd fret of the C string. We're going to strum through all 4 again. Then we're going to play 4 on the E string. I like to use my pinky finger here. And then 2 on the A with my index finger. That might be a little bit awkward, right? But there's a reason for it, and that is, after I play that 2 on the A, I'm going to play it again and slide up to 7 for the start of measure 10. So that slide is what gives you this nice transition to this higher place. And then we're going to switch back to strumming with this cool little A7 chord. Take the middle finger, 9th fret of the C string, ring finger, 9th fret of the E string. So bend the fingers towards that shoulder. It's actually the same chord that you played at the very beginning of the song, just moved up, 9, 9, 7. And we're going to do a down, up, down on that. So measures 9 and 10, and I'll jump into 11 and 12 are going to sound and look something like this. And what I like about this part is it's all finger picking for the most part, except for the very, very last note. So we just did some strumming. Now we're going to jump to finger picking. Specifically, I like to use 3 finger picking. So thumb on the C, index on the E, middle on the A. Again, there's a video link down below on this style of playing. But I'm going to take my index. I'm going to bar it here across the 5th fret of the C, E, and A strings. Add my middle finger on the 6th fret of the E string. I'm going to pluck my C and my E together. Thumb and index on the playing hand there. Then 5 on the A with the middle finger. And then I'm going to play 6 on the G. And we're going to do this little crossover. Sometimes this can be a no-no, but it's the best thing to do here to keep all the notes ringing. See that 6 on the G string? My ring finger is going to kind of cross over, play that 6th fret, and kind of come back off so that I can play the 5 on the A string. Generally speaking, we don't really want to cross behind the hand like that. See how the finger that's in front is going behind the fingers, right? That's generally not something that we want to do. We usually want to go in front of the fingers, but it's kind of needed for this little part. And I think it looks cool because of it. And after we play the 5 on the A there, we're going to play open on the G and then open on the A. Now, as I do that open on the A, I take my fingers off and I kind of rest it right here as I'm jumping down. And then after I play that open A, I need to be ready to go with the 1 on the A and the 2 on the C. Now I like to actually just do a little bit of a B flat chord here without that ring finger. So the index finger is barred on the E and A 1st fret, and the middle finger is there on the 2nd fret of the C string. And then I'm just plucking the C and the A together. It's okay if you just fret those 2. Just be careful not to hit that E string with it. And then as I go through, I'm continuing to fingerpick. I'm going to move this index up to 1, pluck the C and the E strings together, and then open on the A, 1 on the E, stretch the pinky out to 5 on the A, and then I'm going to play 3 on the A with the ring finger. And that finishes the finger picking. To go here and with a little bit of a thumb strum, I'm going to keep that ring finger where it is, add the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the C string and the index finger on the 1st fret of the E. I'm going to strum through all 4 with my thumb. And that finishes that little line. So mostly finger picking, except for that last part. And it should sound something like this. I'm going to play it through and then jump into the next couple bars, which you'll notice we'll use more thumb picking. Should be something like this. So right here, you'll notice this is the first ending. So what we do in the song is it's going to repeat. We're going to play all the way through to this point, get through this point, and go back almost to the beginning of the song. We'll talk about how we repeat in just a moment. First, let's learn how to play this. Pretty straightforward bar. We're going to use our thumb for the entirety of it. We're going to start with this F chord, strum through all 4 strings. 2, 0, 1, 0. We played that earlier. You're going to play the 1 on the E, 0 on the C, 1 on the A. Again, I like to collapse that index finger. You'll notice that's a reoccurring theme that's quite hard, but good to work on with this song. And then I'm going to strum through my F chord again all the way through. And then I'm going to play just the 3rd fret on the E string with my ring finger, take the other fingers off, strum through my G, C, and E, stopping on the A string. And then going into measure 14, I go back to the F chord. I'm going to strum my G, C, and E, stopping on the A. And then I'm going to play this nice little scale. Basically playing what's called a C mixolydian scale. The name of that's not too important right now, but if you know your scales, you might already know how to play it. So I'm going to start by playing open on the C, then 2 on the C with the middle finger, open on the E, 1 on the E with the index finger, 3 on the E with the ring finger, open on the A, 1 on the A with the index. And at this point, it repeats back, not to the very beginning, not to this part here, but the part that's right after this, going on measure 3, repeats to that point. So that you can hear it though, I'm going to play measures 13 and 14, and then I'm actually going to do the repeat and go all the way through. And then instead of going to measure 13 for that first ending, after I'm done with 12, I jump on to measure 15 for the second ending. And I'll say that as I'm going through, but it should sound something like this. So I'm going to start at 13, play 13, 14, then do the repeat all the way. Should sound something like this. And now from here, it's going on to measure 15 instead of measure 13. And that sounds like this. And so to play measure 15, we're going to start with our F chord, play the 1 on the E, 0 on the C, 1 on the A, collapsing that index for the little bar. Play your F chord all the way through. Then we're going to move up, middle finger here on the 6th fret of the E string, ring finger here on the 7th fret of the A string, strum through all 4 strings. And then we're going to play this beautiful F add 9. We're going to take that index barred across the C, E, and A strings on the 5th fret, pinky finger on the 8th fret of the A string, leaving the G open, strum through all 4 strings. And that ending sounds something like that. This was a lot of fun to work out as an arrangement, and there you have it. That's the whole thing. What's fun about this is using the finger picking, the thumb picking, and the strumming all together. One of the most common things I'm requested in private lessons is how to transition between these different techniques and what are some good example songs that can help facilitate that practice. And that's really what I tried to make with this particular lesson. It's a ton of fun to play. It is frustrating at first going from these different techniques into each other, but stick with it, go nice and slow, and you'll have it. And it's really fun when you've got it down to use these different techniques. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. This was actually voted on over at my Patreon page, where every single month I do a lesson tutorial based on suggestions and votes of the members. And March of the Toreadors won for this month, so I was pretty excited to work on it. An original ukulele jazz piece was a close second, so I posted some extra stuff on that for my patrons. But if you're a patron, thank you so much. I wouldn't be able to do this without your support. And if you're not, please consider joining, or at least just check it out and see what you think. As always, thank you again. I will see you for the next lesson here on this YouTube channel. Take it easy.